Governor's School. Let the battle begin.
Hello and welcome. I'm Cheryl Miller. Thanks for joining us for Battle of the Brains. Today's two teams have made it to the semifinals of this season. They're hoping to make it to the finals and compete to receive a $10,000 scholarship for their school, courtesy of the Scripps Howard Foundation and Virginia 529. This season's second place team will receive $5,000. Today's semifinal teams will walk away with no less than $2,500 in scholarship money. Our competition welcomes teams from schools all across the Commonwealth of Virginia. Congratulations and welcome back to the academic athletes joining us today. They are the Cavaliers of Princess Anne High School, coached by Jason Tomick. With about 1,800 students, Princess Anne High School is in Virginia Beach. The school hosts the International Baccalaureate Magnet Center. Princess Anne was the winning team last year on Battle of the Brains. Also with us today, the Green Dragons of the Maggie Walker Governor's School, coached by Adam Rachi, Drew Austin, and Juanita Laswell. The Maggie Walker Governor's School for Government and International Studies is a public regional magnet high school in Richmond. It's recognized as one of the most elite public schools in America. Good to have all of these students here with us today. Our match will consist of 3 toss-up rounds and a category round. Players who wish to answer will buzz in, wait for me to call on them. Any interruption of a question with an incorrect answer will result in a point deduction. There's no point deduction for an incorrect answer to a completed question. All right, students, once again, good luck. Congratulations. Let's start the first toss-up round. What is the technical name for tartar that builds up on teeth or... Timothy?
Plaque.
That is incorrect. I'll finish for Princess Anne. Or a specific branch of mathematics. Liam?
Calculus?
That is correct. Name the man who coached the Green Bay Packers to back-to-back Super Bowl championships. Morgan?
Vince Lombardi.
That is correct, and for whom the Super Bowl trophy is named. In taxonomy, species is the smallest, least inclusive taxon. What is the largest inclusive? Trevor?
Domain.
Correct. John Knox was the leader of the 16th century Reformation in Scotland. What domination? Sam.
Presbyterian.
That is correct.
Nice.
In Roman law, generals were forbidden to cross over into Italy. Sam.
Rubicon.
That is correct. In one poem, this author claimed that his father moved through dooms of love. Another of his poems described how anyone lived in a pretty cow town. Trevor.
Cummings.
E.E. Cummings is correct. On September 29, 2023, the moon was at its closest point in relation to the Earth, called a supermoon. Rishi?
The largest.
That is incorrect. I'll finish for Princess Anne. Called a supermoon, what is the scientific name for this event? Liam?
Aphelion.
It's actually called perigee. You may need your pencil and paper for this one. The year 2017 is a prime number. What year in the next decade is the next prime number? Trevor?
2023.
That is incorrect. Maggie Walker? Timothy?
2027.
That is correct.
Nice.
How many Earp brothers were involved in the 1881 gunfight at the OK Corral? Morgan?
3.
That is correct. Wyatt, Morgan, and Virgil. All right, Thor's hammer is called Mjolnir.
Uru.
That is incorrect. The question is, spell Mjolnir. Timothy?
M-J-O-L-N-I-R.
That is correct.
Nice.
According to the Lewis definition, their ranks include the metal cations and boron trifluoride. Trevor?
Bases.
That is incorrect. Name these. Yash.
Acids.
That is correct. Low pHs that neutralize bases. In this famous work by William Blake, a poetic feline is asked. Rishi.
The tiger.
That is correct. What immortal hand or eye could frame thy fearful symmetry? In December 1975, Lynette Squeaky Fromm was sentenced to life in prison. Trevor.
Gerald Ford.
That is correct. Her attempt to assassinate U.S. President Gerald Ford. In 1912, British explorer Robert F. Scott and the members of his entire expedition, Timothy.
Antarctica, South Pole.
That is correct. In their effort to reach the desolate geographic extremity. Although most visible in 33-year cycles during the month of November, what is this meteor shower that comes from the direction of the constellation Leo? Liam.
The Leonids.
That is correct. In the Homeric epics, the Iliad and the Odyssey, it is the civilization of what pre-Greek state, residents of the legendary Helen?
Minoans?
That is incorrect. Residents of the legendary Helen and Menelaus, which is portrayed. Liam.
Troy?
It's Mycenae. The Dead Sea lies entirely within the borders of what two nations? Trevor.
Israel and Jordan.
Correct. This literary term literally means the final outcome of the main complication in a play or story. Trevor.
Denouement.
That is correct. Of French origin, spell denouement. Liam.
That's me.
I'm sorry, Trevor.
Denouement.
That is correct. The question whether knowledge is justified, true belief is a question in what branch of philosophy? Timothy.
Epistemology.
That is correct. And that buzzer means a good job by our team so far, but a lot more questions to come. Up next, we'll introduce you to today's players, and then they'll take on the category round as Battle of the Brain returns.
Battle of the Brains is always available. Find full episodes on YouTube and follow along with Battle of the Brains on social media. Welcome back to Battle of the Brains.
Here are the scores following the first toss-up round here on Battle of the Brains. Our team from Princess Anne High School with 80 points. Our team from Maggie Walker Governor School with 50 points. And we'll get back to our match and questions just ahead. But first, let's get you introduced to today's players. Let's start with our team from Princess Anne High School. They are the Cavaliers. Their coach is Jason Tomick. First up is Naman Chowdhury, who is a junior. Naman plays volleyball, soccer, is a volunteer at the hospital, and enjoys learning about biology and chemistry. Next up is Morgan Neely. Morgan is a senior who is a member of the Princess Anne football team and is an international baccalaureate student. Our team captain from Princess Anne High School is Trevor Darr. Trevor is a senior who is a self-published author and researcher. He's presiding attorney general of the Boys State of Virginia. Plans to double major in political science and astrophysics at Duke University. Congratulations. And wrapping up our team is Liam Senzon, who is a senior, is passionately studying American politics and is hoping to study labor law and become a union attorney. That is our team from Princess Anne High School. Congratulations on making it to the semifinals. And also in the semifinals of this season of Battle of the Brains, our team from the Maggie L. Walker Governor School in Richmond, the Green Dragons, are coached by Adam Rachi, Drew Austin, and Walida Laswell. First up is Sam McNamee, who is a senior. Sam wants to study history at Notre Dame. Congratulations. Enjoys reading and playing Dungeons and Dragons and is a member of the Model UN Club. Our team captain is Timothy Porter. Timothy is a senior who is a musician. He plays the guitar. He enjoys studying political philosophy and participates in Model UN and plans to major in mathematics at VCU. Congratulations. Rishi Naval is a senior who makes YouTube videos on STEM topics. We'll tune in. Loves to play basketball and plans to major in applied mathematics in college. And wrapping up our team from the Maggie Walker Governor School, Yash Saxena, who is a senior, is part of the Quiz Bowl, Math, and Badminton clubs, participates in the Virginia Junior Academy of Science, and plans to major in both physics and computer science at UC Berkeley. Congratulations. That is our team from the Maggie Walker Governor School. And now our teams will play the category round. Each team will select one 10-question category from today's choices. If a team gets all of its questions correct in the allotted time, we'll give them a 20-point bonus. All right, teams, here are today's categories from which you may choose. They are celebrity fashion, Central America, and nations' former names. And we do note that in this round, only the captains can officially answer for the team, though they may confer with their teammates to try to come up with the correct answers. By the rules, the high score team gets first choice of category. That is our team from Princess Anne. So, Trevor, if you can quickly talk it over with your teammates and let me know what category you'd like to play.
I think
Former names.
Gotcha. Nation's former names.
All right, given the present name of a nation, identify that nation's former name. First is Ethiopia.
Abyssinia.
Correct. Sri Lanka.
Ceylon.
Ceylon.
Correct. Thailand.
Siam.
Yeah.
Siam.
Correct. Suriname.
Dutch Guinea.
Dutch Guyana.
Dutch Guyana. Yeah.
Dutch Guyana.
That is correct. Myanmar.
Burma.
Okay.
Correct. Burkina Faso.
Upper Volta.
Upper Volta.
Correct. Zimbabwe.
Rhodesia.
Correct. The Netherlands.
Holland.
Yeah, sure.
Holland.
Correct. Iran.
Persia.
Correct. And finally, Cambodia.
Kampuchea? Kampuchea.
Kampuchea.
That is correct, and that is a
Good job.
20-point bonus for the team for sweeping that category. Good job. All right, Maggie Walker Governor School, celebrity fashion or Central America?
Take Central America.
All right. Countries, capitals, and locations. From these clues, name the country, capital, or location in Central America. The first is the most southerly of Central American nations.
Panama.
Correct. Belize was once a dependency of this colonial empire.
British Empire.
Correct. The capital of Nicaragua.
Managua? Managua.
Correct. The capital of Guatemala.
Tegucigalpa.
Yeah.
Tegucigalpa.
Guatemala City. The capital of Costa Rica.
San Juan. San Juan.
San Jose. The Panamanian capital city of Panama is located on this coast.
It is Pacific Coast.
Correct. The capital of the Republic of Honduras.
Tegucigalpa.
That is correct. This Central American republic lies directly north of Nicaragua.
What? Honduras.
Correct. The highest mountain in Central America is located in which country?
Guatemala.
Correct. And finally, the two Central American republics that directly borders Mexico.
Guatemala and Belize, right?
Yeah.
Guatemala and Belize.
That is correct.
Nice.
Good job on your category as well. Up next, another toss-up round as we continue here on Battle of the Brains in our semifinal rounds.
Miss a week of Battle of the Brains? Or want to catch up on a full season of battle gameplay? Find full episodes on our YouTube channel. Welcome back to Battle of the Brains.
Here are the scores following the category round here on Battle of the Brains. Our team from Princess Anne High School with 150 points. Our team from Maggie Walker Governor School with 90 points. And now it's back to Battle of the Brains and another toss-up round. And just a quick reminder first for our teams, you do lose points if you interrupt a question with an incorrect answer. The other team will then have the chance to answer. And of course, there's no conferring in the toss-up rounds. All right, teams, dynamic, condenser, and ribbon are common types of what device? Trevor?
Microphones.
Correct. Born the 14th child of the Earl of Cork, he was a founder of the Royal Society. Trevor?
Robert Boyle.
Correct. In the American Civil War, in what year did the Battle of Gettysburg occur? Trevor?
1863.
Correct. All right, players, turn your attention to the monitors for a video question presented by a member of the Battle of the Brains Brainy Bunch, and you must wait until the question is complete before buzzing in.
The first African-American labor union was formed by what specific type of railroad employees?
Sam,
Porters,
I need you to be more specific.
like people who carried stuff on and off of the train.
I'll go to the judge on that one. We will take the Pullman Porters. That is correct, Sam. In the X-Men comic books and movies, Peter Rasputin is better known by what name? Liam?
Colossus.
Correct. Leica, the first living creature to orbit the Earth. Timothy?
She was a Soviet dog.
That is correct. Not counting the sun, with a visual apparent magnitude of -1.46, what is the brightest star in our sky? Liam?
Sirius?
The dog star, correct. Laius, king of Thebes, and Jocasta, his queen, were the parents. What? Trevor?
Oedipus.
Correct, tragic prince. In the film Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 1, Harry, Ron, and Hermione try to find and destroy the 7 pieces of Voldemort's soul. Trevor?
Horcruxes.
That is correct. This mineral is used as a flux to remove impurities from steel, while its hydrated or slaked form is used in mortar, water treatment, and manufacturing paper. Name this mineral formed. Trevor?
Gypsum.
That is incorrect. Name this mineral formed when calcium carbonate decomposes with the chemical formulation CaO.
Oh,
Yash, go ahead.
lime?
Lime is correct. All right, players, once again, look at the monitors for a video question presented by a member of the Battle of the Brains Brainy Bunch. And again, wait until the question is complete before buzzing in.
The banjo, a characteristic instrument of country music, evolved from an instrument brought to the United States from which continent?
Timothy?
Africa.
That is correct. In tennis, what is the numerical value for love? Liam?
0.
Correct. Over 12 million immigrants were processed here between Sam.
Ellis Island.
Correct, between 1892 and 1954. In chemistry, this 7-letter word describes most carbon compounds. What is this word? Rishi.
Organic.
Correct. In 1872 harbor scene by Claude Monet with a small red sun in a misty morning sky. Trevor.
Impression sunrise.
Judges? That is incorrect. I will finish the question. With a small red sun and a misty morning sky gave this artistic movement its name. Timothy.
Impressionism.
That is correct. Pencil and paper ready? During the course of a game, a high school football team runs the ball 33 times and passes it 17 times. What percentage of the team's plays were passes? Trevor.
34.
That is correct. Which element on the periodic table is spelt with the fewest number of letters? Yash.
Tin.
Correct. 3 letters. In the story from Asian literature, The 1001 Nights, name the poor woodcutter who found Yash.
Aladdin.
That is incorrect. Who found magic in the words open sesame? Trevor.
Alibaba.
Alibaba is correct. What is the name of the defensive wall built across Britain during Trevor?
Hadrian's Wall.
That is correct. During the reign of a namesake Roman emperor. And that buzzer means one more toss-up round and we'll double the point value. Stay tuned to see which of our teams will go to the championship match here on Battle of the Brains.
Love Battle of the Brains? Ready for your high school team to play next season? Get in touch. Go to battleofthebrains.net to learn more. Welcome back to Battle of the Brains.
Here are the scores as we head now into the final round here in the semifinal round of Battle of the Brains. Our team from Princess Anne High School with 240 points. Our team from Maggie Walker Governor School, 160 points. Now for this final toss-up round, the point score for a correct answer is doubled, and so is the penalty for an incorrect answer given before I finish the question. There is no deduction for an incorrect answer to a completed question. Teams, good luck. This is our final toss-up round. What force which opposed gravity on both masses... Liam.
Tension.
Correct. Which insect has the species name religiosa from the name soothsayer? Liam.
Praying mantis.
Yes, that is correct. Name the San Francisco Giants player who holds the Major League Baseball record. Morgan.
Barry Bonds.
That is correct for home runs. Also aboard an historic NASA flight, who was the second man to walk on the moon? Rishi.
Buzz Aldrin.
Correct. In which war did the USS Constitution earn its nickname, Old Ironside? Sam.
1812.
That is correct. Founded in 1776, the Bolshoi Theater is located in what city? Timothy.
Moscow.
Correct. His namesake primes have the form 1. Timothy.
Mersenne.
That is incorrect. Have the form 1 + 2 to the power 2 to the n. His little theorem can be used to test primality. Name this Frenchman best known for his last theorem. Trevor.
Fermat.
Pierre Fermat is correct. Pencil and paper ready. What is the sum of 8 + 7? Timothy.
15.
Correct. This practice called color marking consists of a business trademarking a particular shade of color. Which hardware chain trademarked? Liam.
Home Depot.
A shade of orange, that is correct. The need for better cannons in the Crimean War led to this man's most famous invention. Rishi.
MacArthur.
I will finish for Princess Anne. In an 1856 paper, he explained how, by using blasts of air, he could remove carbon impurities from iron. Identify this man whose namesake process helped triple English steel production.
Bessemer.
That is correct, Henry Bessemer. His cultivation of tobacco and method of curing it made the crop popular in England. Trevor.
John Rolfe.
Correct. Chromosomes move towards opposite ends of the nuclear spindle. Timothy.
Anaphase.
Correct. Who was the author of Ethan Frome, The Age of Innocence? Timothy.
Edith Wharton.
That is correct. Montego Bay, Negril, Ocho Rios, and Kingston are cities. Liam.
Jamaica.
Correct. The official name is naphthalene, and its formula is C10H8. Name this white crystalline solid with a characteristic odor that is a household item often used in closets. Trevor.
Could you please repeat the question?
Yes, the official name is naphthalene. Its formula is C10H8. Name this white crystalline solid with a characteristic odor that is a household item often used in closets.
What is mothballs?
That is correct. He is called the President No One Knows. A college classmate of Nathaniel Hawthorne at Bowdoin College, he emerged from the political wars to represent New Hampshire in the United States Senate. Liam.
Franklin Pierce.
That is correct. This structure stands 605 feet high, contains the Sky City restaurant, and has a view of Mount Rainier. Trevor.
Seattle Space Needle.
Correct. This 11-letter word starts with an M and ends with an E. What is this word of Greek origin with the definition, one who hates or distrusts all people? Timothy.
Misanthrope?
Correct. The term is used sporadically before 1185 when Minamoto Yoritomo assumed it and went on to establish Timothy.
Shogun.
Correct. What metal with the atomic number 74 is used as a filament in Trevor?
Tungsten.
Correct. Conventional light bulbs. Founded in the United States in 1899 by 3 traveling salesmen, what is the worldwide organization that attempts to spread Christianity by placing Bibles in public places? Timothy.
Gideon.
Correct. Name the philosopher who started his career as a mathematician scholar but was famous for his quote, Trevor.
Rene Descartes.
That is correct. Cogito ergo sum. He wrote Candida, Arms and the Man. Trevor.
Voltaire.
That is incorrect. I'll finish. And Caesar and Cleopatra. Name this Irish dramatist who won the 1925 Nobel Prize for Literature. Rishi.
Shaw.
George Bernard Shaw is correct. And that buzzer means the end of our game. While our judges double-check the final score, here's a reminder of how to stay connected with us here at Battle of the Brains.
Stay up to date with Battle of the Brains. Follow along as your favorite teams advance this season. Visit battleofthebrains.net to learn more. And follow the show on social at Battle of the Brains.
Join us next week for the Battle of the Brains championship match. 2 teams competing for the title of champion this season in Battle of the Brains.
And here's the final score for today's match, determining which of our teams will play for that championship this season here on Battle of the Brains. Ending our game today with a final score of 320 points, our team from the Maggie Walker Governor's School. Great job, and great job all season by Yash, Rishi, Timothy, and Sam. Our winners today with a final score of 460 points, our team from Princess Anne High School. Congratulations to Naman, Morgan, Trevor, and Liam, and we will see you in the championship game. I'm Cheryl Miller. Thank you for watching and playing along here on Battle of the Brains, and we'll see you back here next week for that championship match on Battle of the Brains. Great match, teams.
Game over. Thank you for watching Battle of the Brains, presented by Virginia 529. Goodbye.